little bit of a West Ham news roundup for you today. I'll probably try and sell you a discounted beard trimmer at some point later on in the video as well. But there's not been a lot of news up till today, the last couple of days. That's why we've been asking you for video ideas for the last little while. But the news seems to have hotted up. It's not a word. Heated up. Yes, that's the one. The West Ham news has certainly caught on fire, maybe, in the last few days, with some of the big hitters coming out with some transfer rumours. I'm talking about ex-West Ham United employee and Fabrizio Romano. Now, what's ex-West Ham United employee said? Well, he has said, and I think I've got this right, it's certainly come from the West Ham Way podcast and certainly from their website. Apologies if I got this wrong, but as I understand it, Lucas Paqueta could be tempted to stay if West Ham go and sign Ivan Toney. Now, of course, myself and Gio covered Ivan Toney in a video which we would have uploaded yesterday. He obviously played relatively well, I thought, for England. Scored a really good penalty, really good penalty specialist. And as I sort of tried to make my case in that video, I do think that Toney is hugely overvalued at 70 million. I think particularly with FFP coming in, look, if Brentford want rid of him, I don't think they do, but I think if it's 70 million or nothing, I think they're probably keeping him. But I think Ivan Toney, by the sounds of it, thinks he could play at a slightly higher level. Well, much higher level than Brentford, but I just think £70 million is too much. 45 million, I think, is probably about right. What ex-West Ham United employee has said is that Paqueta could be persuaded to stay if that's the case. Now, it's funny actually looking at Paqueta or Paqueta or whatever you want to call him. I am starting to wonder, actually, quite how many people are going to be able to afford his buyout clause. I think there's a difference between being able to afford it and actually going and paying that. I would not be at all surprised if people try and get us to haggle for under the £85 million release clause. And I think at that point, West Ham don't have to. Look, we know his favourite destination is City, but I don't know. I don't know. I do think there is still a situation where West Ham can keep the player. And I tell you what, his pecker was up. His pecker was massively up after I thought he performed really well against England. And then, of course, he played against Spain. I think it was a 3-3 draw. I think I might have that right. He scored a goal anyway. And Brazil have been doing crap without him. And, of course, he comes back into the team and they get a win and they get a draw. So they've been loving him over in Brazil, certainly. By the way, they were both home internationals in terms of one was in England and one was in Spain, so he's not had to fly back to Brazil. So he should be nice and fit and firing for the Newcastle game. But it was nice to see him, wasn't it? It was nice to see him sort of with his pecker up. He'd said really nice things about West Ham before leaving as well. I don't know. I've not given up on this, certainly not yet. And by the way, I should probably mention in this video about Jared Bowen. I thought he played really, really well in that England fixture. I really do. I think it wasn't just the fact that he had the disallowed goal, but I thought he played well. I thought he linked well. I thought he linked well with a lot of the players. I think on another day he might have had an assist. Maybe it might have been Foden who fired wide. Might have been somebody else. But I thought he could have had an assist, should have had an assist. And I was watching Gareth Southgate when he eventually substituted Bowen. He had a really good word with him. And, you know, you'd never know what was said. But looking at the body language, it seemed encouraging. I would not be at all surprised if Bowen stays in the squad. And so he should. A really, really good showing from him. How good is Jude Bellingham, by the way? He's absolutely amazing. What a magnificent player. I should probably also say that Lewis Orford played really, really well for England under-17s. Should probably point that out as well. And, yeah, I mean, there's lots. I think we had a pretty good international break in terms of West Ham players. Obviously, Mohamed Kudus didn't play for Ghana, but because he was injured, that knee injury again. But I'm hoping that was just precautionary and he'll be all right for Newcastle. Look, we're going to need them all for Newcastle. Let's be honest, aren't we? Let's deal with Samuel Iling-Junior. Now, he is a player that plays for Juventus. He came through Chelsea's academy. He's played 17 times for Juventus this season. And I think he scored twice as England... Oh, I've got to get this right. I think England under-21s beat Luxembourg 7-0 or something like that. There were two absolute whopping... results for the England teams. I think one of the teams, possibly under-21s, won 7-0, and maybe the under-20s or the under-18s won 9-1. I mean, they're absolutely romping it. There's some really, really good talent coming through in the youth setups at the moment. There's no doubt about that at all. But this Samuel Iling-Junior, he was through Chelsea's academy, as I mentioned. It looks like he's only got 1 year left on his contract at Juventus. West Ham were interested in him during the last transfer window, but it didn't happen. We apparently targeted Ibrahim Osman or Jota instead, rather than bringing him in. We ended up with nobody, didn't we? Apart from Calvin Phillips. We'll get onto him in just a second. But apparently we're still in for him. And then Fabrizio Romano has said this. He's available in one of a number of clubs, Tottenham and Brighton being amongst them off the top of my head. One of them was Everton. I had to discount that. Look, Everton need to sell. They're certainly not going to be in a position to buy somebody. Good player, versatile player, can play wing-back, can play winger. Both sides, apparently, as well. The homegrown quota is all there. I mean, he ticks all the boxes. He really does. So, yeah, really, really interesting. Watch your space on that one. If Fabrizio Romano is saying it, then, you know, I think this is probably quite believable stuff. Anyway, before I go any further, can I please tempt you and lure you in with the prospect of this magnificent... This is not even a beard trimmer. This is actually a downstairs shaver, and this is the Lawnmower 5.0. Now, you probably notice at the moment, this Lawnmower 5.0 has one of these sort of interesting heads on it. And let's be fair, we all like a bit of interesting head, don't we? This, actually, I've been playing around with it. Not that, this interesting head part, which does a really, really close shave, just comes off like that. It's completely detachable. And then you've got this bit, you know this is like, you know, the trimmer, who's got the keys to my Beamer. That just pops on like that. And there you go. It's got interchangeable heads, which I think is pretty good. It's waterproof, so you can use this in the shower. It's got ceramic blades, so they don't trim up the parts of your body that you don't want trimming up, by the way. And best of all, we can give you 20% off this magnificent product by using the code HammersChat, all one word, when you go onto Manscaped site. Look, this gear is really, really good. I used a beard trimmer, which I got to say I think is even better than this. Beard trimmer doesn't have a torch, funnily enough. This one's got a torch, but I don't need a torch because I can see me face. I'd probably need a torch for this because I can't see me. It doesn't matter, does it? That bit's not important. Let's be honest. 20% off plus free shipping. This is the best male grooming range of any company out there. I've ditched my old one. Actually, I had my old two. Well, I'm not going to mention those companies' name. I'm using only Manscaped now, and not just because they're paying me to say this. Honestly, even when they don't pay me to say this, I'm using their stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. The link's in the description below. Discount code HammersChat, all one word, 20% off plus free shipping. They probably don't use a ship. I think they probably use like a van or something like that. But free delivery, let's put it that way. I've got two words for you. Amado Onana. Remember him? Yeah, I don't mean the dodgy Onana who's in goal for Manchester United. I mean the Onana that turned us down. And do you remember? We came very, very close to signing this player. Very close. And in the end, his demands were a little bit too much. I think, if I remember it correctly, his sister was maybe acting as his advisor or something. She got involved. It all went messy. And he didn't sign. He signed for Everton in the end. I do wonder if he regrets that decision. He must do. And not there's anything wrong with Everton as a club, but we've had European football. We've won a trophy since then. He didn't. I've always thought that because Moyes wanted this player, really good. Well, you would have seen him if you watched England against Belgium. He played in midfield for Belgium. I'd always thought the plan was we signed him and he would play sort of next to Declan Rice. That's the point of signing him. And then we would have got Jesse Lingard to play as a number 10 on a free. All that stuff didn't happen. We didn't get Onana. We didn't get Jesse Lingard. So in the end, we ended up buying Lucas Paqueta. And by the way, I'm glad we did. You know, what a great player. We already discussed him earlier on in this video. But there might be a chance to get Onana. Everton have got to sell, which is why I don't think they'll be in for Samuel Ings-Junior. They've got to sell. Look, he's being linked with us. And he is being linked with us quite a lot. Let's be fair, the Calvin Phillips thing has not worked, although he does have probably 3 games to salvage his West Ham career. I don't even think it's just his West Ham career. Look, if he was valued at 40 million, I'm talking about Calvin Phillips here when he first joined West Ham, what's he worth now? You know, City wouldn't get 20 million for him. I don't know. Look, we'll discuss that another day. Anyway, Amado Onana, I think he's a good player. I really, really do. But I do have a little bit of a problem with players that have already turned us down. Was it George Graham said never sign a player who thinks he's doing you a favour? Well, it's me that said it then, but I think both myself and George are correct on that. So I don't know. I do think there's a good player in there. I'm undecided. I could probably be swayed either way. Look, 2 Leverkusen players who are in the news: Victor What's-His-Face and Jonathan Tah. Now, I think it's easy to dismiss all the Leverkusen stuff because of how well they're doing. However, there is a natural link, and that is Tim Steidten, who, of course, knows all the players from his time at Leverkusen. I do think this is it. This is Leverkusen's last hurrah. I think everything goes. I think they have to do it this season. It's almost like Leicester when they won the Premier League. I think this is what's going to happen with Leverkusen. I think Alonso leaves. I think a lot of their players depart. So I wouldn't rule out the prospect of us getting any of their players. I like Frimpong myself. That's the one I would go for. But anyway, linked with What's-His-Face. What's-His-Face is Victor Boniface, basically. If you're new to the channel, I call him What's-His-Face. Jonathan Tah, I don't have a nickname for him. Guess it'd be like Jonathan, thank you very much, wouldn't it, really? But Jonathan Tah. And just finally, Charlie Hughes. Who's Charlie Hughes? Funny enough, I think he was a former former FA technical director a long, long time ago. He invented the original Charlie Hughes, or Charles Hughes. I think he invented the position of maximum opportunity. I think he might be the guy, I'm sorry if I got this wrong, he might have been the guy that was responsible for sort of like a decade-long English obsession with playing long ball, which is that, and the ban in Europe stopped us from, when they were the fallow years, stopped us from really sort of thriving in European football. But anyway, not that Charlie Hughes, different one, new one, 20-year-old, centre-back, goal-scoring, Wigan defender. Well, obviously, he's a centre-back, he's a defender. West Ham are interested. Don't know how much truth there is in it, but I've not heard much of that rumour. I thought, oh, this is a new one. I mean, it's like the opposite. If you've got sliding into the scale, so I guess with Jonathan Tah I've been linked with a lot of time, but let's go with Yosef En-Nesyri, or whatever his name is. He's up there. He is the most linked player with West Ham I've seen. We have been linked with him twice already in the past week, by the way. And then and Charlie Hughes, this is new stuff to me. So, yeah, seems interesting. Seems, I don't know, does it seem realistic? Let's be fair, we don't know any of this stuff until we know what Moyes' future is. But that is a conversation for another day, and tied quite closely in with the club asking for season ticket renewals when we don't actually know who's going to be manager next season. That's another video. I think Gio's going to discuss that over on the main channel tomorrow. So give that a look. Don't forget your trimmer, and yeah, 20% discount. Check it out.